Yesterday in question period, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, went head-to-head over Bill C-234. The bill seeks to remove carbon tax from natural gas and propane used in farming. And at one point during their exchange, a mushroom farm in Osgood took center stage.
This is a farm that pays $100,000 in carbon taxes now. He wants to quadruple it to $400,000. They don't have any alternative sources. They either power their operations with natural gas or propane, just like farmers have to dry their grains and heat their barns using those same fuel sources. There are no alternatives. So when the Prime Minister follows up with Carleton mushrooms, how is he going to advise them to pay the $400,000 carbon tax bill he's sending them? Is it by raising prices on consumers or cutting food production so we buy foreign food from polluting countries?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I look forward to hearing about the sustainable practices that Carleton Mushrooms is already putting into place and working with them on how we can continue to move forward on supporting them into a brighter future. We recognize the reality of climate change on this side of the House, at least, and we know that's going to bring challenges to families like the Medeiros. But we're going to be there to support them like we are supporting farm families right across the country.
Well, joining me on the line now is Mike Medeiros, the co-owner of Carleton Mushrooms. We've reached him at the family farm in Osgood this morning. Hi, Mike.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Thanks for joining us. I understand this came as a surprise to you that you were brought up at question period yesterday. How did you find out that your farm was being discussed?
Actually, through the Canadian Federation of Agriculture, there's actually one of the MPs who's in the House representing Manitoba, a riding there, texted me, letting me know, actually. And so I logged on and went back to see the heated dispute for that bill, C-234.
Yeah.
So it's quite surreal.
Had you reached out to Pierre Poilievre to talk about this? Did you want him to bring it up?
We've talked to all politicians in the past 3 years now since the carbon tax has been introduced. So he's definitely well aware of our costs that we're spending just on the carbon tax alone. It's had such a push-up effect on everything, all my input costs, trucking, delivery of the mushrooms to the stores, to our customers. It's added extra costs, and we've had to absorb those over the past three years.
Is it possible to put a number on those extra costs, Mike? Can you give us a sense of how much you've seen your heating costs go up in the past year?
Well, yeah, just the natural gas alone that we're spending last year was about $150,000. This year it's going to be upwards about $170,000 to $180,000 in carbon tax alone. For our heating of natural gas for our site.
So when Pierre Poilievre says that this is going to be quadrupled to $400,000, do you see that as being an accurate number?
So by 2030, the carbon tax increase will be paying roughly between $450,000 to $500,000 in carbon tax alone by 2030. Every April, the carbon tax is going up. Incrementally, and yes, it has effect. I'm not able to raise our prices every year. Unfortunately, we don't want prices to go up. We want them to stay affordable for families to eat nutritious mushrooms. It's very important for us to keep that cost down, and this push-up effect with the carbon tax has not allowed us to do that, which is unfortunate.
So what would happen? I mean, if your costs go up to between $400,000 and $500,000, would you stay in business?
It's going to be really interesting. The price of mushrooms will have to go up. And instead of it being a staple, it's going to be a luxury item, and it's going to affect sales. By affecting sales, I may have to cut back my farm, make it smaller. We're not sure what's going to happen in the future, but as food goes up, people tend to buy less of it. Unfortunately, they're finding cheaper alternatives, fast food, whatnot. But mushroom is a staple. It's grown in consumption year after year, and in the past year, we've noticed a decrease in consumption, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. You heard the Prime Minister in that clip say that he looks forward to hearing about the sustainable practices your mushroom farm is already putting in place. Is that something that you're doing?
Oh, 100%. Mushroom farming in a whole is very sustainable. We're the earliest adopters of vertical farming. It's been done since the 1960s. So we're growing mushrooms undercover successfully and producing it efficiently. But at the end of the day, we've got to heat up the fresh air. So today we got to heat this air that's coming in for the growing rooms up to plus 15 degrees. So we try to do our best, but there's no alternatives to heating up that air. Our facility itself, the superstructure is a 4-inch insulated superstructure, and within that superstructure, all the growing rooms are 4 inches thick each. So it's a well-insulated facility just to keep all our costs down. So there's not much more we can do.
So you're saying, Mike, that you're totally reliant on your boilers. And I ask you this fully not knowing anything about it, but when you say there are no alternatives to heating up that air, that's really the case? There are no kind of eco-friendly or, are you hearing about anything that's on the horizon?
Not yet, no. We're like a farm our size. Yes, we do rely on boilers for heating and humidification and sterilization of our rooms. Yeah. There's no, if we were to put in electric boilers, we would not be cost effective. I wouldn't be able to afford to do it. Like, it's the cost of electricity to run those electric boilers would be astronomical.
So you're really looking at the debate over this bill C-234 pretty closely because it would exempt natural gas and propane that farmers use to heat buildings and dry grain from the carbon tax for at least 8 years. I mean, what would that mean to you, that tax break?
Well, it would be an 80% reduction. 3 years ago, the Liberals gave a rebate back to the greenhouse growers of 80% for their carbon tax under that bill that they allowed. They talk about growing vegetables undercover, but for some reason CRA doesn't accept mushrooms under that bill. I'm not sure why. We're growing vegetables undercover all year round, and they're not allowing mushrooms to be part of that exemption. 80% exemption that was already held 3 years ago. So we're looking forward to this bill to pass because at the end of the day, that would be about $130,000, $140,000 back to help pay bills, to help pay my mortgage. Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, Mike, how you're balancing. I mean, you responded very enthusiastically when I asked about sustainability in the mushroom farming business, and I mean, I take it that you support environmental initiatives, but how are you balancing that with just the prospect of not being able to afford to run your business?
So like, for instance, I drive an electric vehicle. I believe in the movement. I believe in the change. I've looked at putting my fleet, my delivery trucks into electric. The system's not there yet. When you're looking at only 200 kilometers or 250 kilometers a day for a truck to do deliveries, it's just not sustainable for our farm yet. Once it becomes there, like if we can get 500 to 1,000 kilometers for these trucks, we would look at changing our fleet over to that. 3 years ago, I changed from doing deliveries 6 days a week to local deliveries to 4 days a week. That alone saved about 20,000 kilometers on each of my trucks. So we're trying our best to do what is best. Yeah. But this whole carbon tax has a push-off effect on all, like from farmers for the straw that my compost facility, the partnership I have there, buys. Bringing our mushrooms to market, like everything, the parts that you need to fix something. It's just everything. My poor staff, my team, their costs have all gone up, and they all look for raises as well to help offset that. Mm-hmm. I can't just every year increase my cost of my mushrooms, and then it becomes unaffordable in the stores.
Mike, I appreciate you sharing your story on this. I mean, it's a very kind of human face on something that we see volleyed back and forth in question periods. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
That's Mike Medeiros. He is the co-owner of Carleton Mushrooms, which is a family farm in Osgood.
It's up to the Senate now.